Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I'm James. I'm joined with Benji. How you doing, Benji?
I'm really good. Had a bit of a net session tonight, so feeling it a bit. Bowled like an absolute plonker, but it was all good fun, all good preparation for the season.
Love it. And how about you, Zach? How you doing?
Good. I didn't get affected by the wasp this time.
No wafting tonight.
No insect-related injuries in this podcast, fortunately. So in today's podcast, we're just going to do a little rundown of the last 4 games that have happened. And I mean, that's pretty much it, actually. It's going to be quite a short one. So the first game, Delhi Capitals beat Mumbai Indians. It was a very low-scoring match in Chennai, and I think that's going to be a theme for the rest of the IPL. What did you think of that, Zach?
I thought that Amit Mishra, never write him off. I think he's taken more hat-tricks than anyone else has ever done in the IPL. And he continues to perform. Ricky Ponting obviously sees something in him. You can't really disagree with Ricky Ponting. He's a man of much knowledge. Amit Mishra, 4 for 24, was for me the standout player in that match. Really strangled the Mumbai innings through the middle. Stopped the likes of Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya and Karan Pollard getting that finish to the innings. So he was the standout for me. And then Delhi have some pretty class batsmen to finish it off.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some real strength for Mumbai through that destructive middle order that they have. So being able to really shut that down, I think, was quite a good thing for Delhi. A few positives for Mumbai. I mean, Rohit Sharma again was in the runs, and I think that's going to be a bit of a theme throughout. And then Quinton de Kock is either going to hit off or he isn't. And this was a isn't hit off game. He never really just goes in the middle. He's not got that same level of consistency that Rohit does. Which normally isn't too much of a problem for Mumbai because they have that destructive middle order, but they were taken to pieces by Mishra, which was a shame for that side.
Yeah, it definitely was the Mishra show. Now, I need to take this moment to apologise to anyone that based their fantasy picks on my advice of putting Chris Wokes in, because the man didn't play, which that was not the best choice. But I mean, it kind of paid off. They had Shimron Hetmeyer instead. And as much as I give him flack for being a bit of a waste of space, he got 14 off 9, strike rate of 155. He didn't look that convincing, but he did the job. He was a finisher in the lower order, which Mumbai just don't seem to have at the moment. How are Hardik, Pollard and Krunal all out of form? It's really crippling Mumbai.
Yeah, they needed Giant Yadav at the end to even put up something respectable, didn't they? But I think just going back to Delhi bowling, like Hisa Rabada, Avesh Khan, who's looking really good this season, they didn't even bowl their full 4 overs. I think Stoinis bowled 3, and then Lalit Yadav, who I've never heard of until he's been picked by Delhi, bowls 4 overs for 17 runs. It's like, where's that guy? And he bats as well. Like, he was not out at the end of the Delhi innings. They've got to find there. And I think Delhi are definitely contenders this year. They've got a really strong team.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed about Delhi is that they're actually using their young Indian talent, like their unknowns, really, quite well. So people like Avesh Khan and Lalit Yadav, obviously we hadn't heard of them really going into this, and yet they're really coming through. And I think a lot of teams, they're not really utilising that Indian talent they might have on the bench. And I'm thinking specifically of my team, which is Punjab Kings. I don't know if you want to say anything else on Delhi Mumbai. I'm more than happy to stall before we go to this next match because it makes me miserable just thinking about it.
Yeah, just to pick up on your point about this young Indian talent, like I think Lalit is probably possibly one to watch for the future. He's played really well for Delhi Capitals, and interesting fact of the day, he's quite young. He's 2 days older than me to the year. So there you
That's
go.
not young.
Interesting. Oi.
He's an old man.
Yeah.
I am the oldest
Close.
person on this podcast, but he's only 24. He'll. I think he potentially has got quite a future ahead of him.
Brilliant.
Well, you did mention Punjab's lack of Indian talent. Arshdeep Singh he's having a fairly okay season. Like he's bowling at the death pretty good, and then also Shah Rukh Khan is almost trying to hold them together by himself, isn't he?
He is holding the weight of Punjab on his shoulders. So what I was referring to there, we have got Indian talent. Don't get me wrong. We've got some brilliant Indian players. Deepak Huda has come into his own this season. Even if he did go out for 13 in the last game,
off 11 balls.
he has been the aggressive number 4 that we've wanted. That Nick Pooran hasn't been with his third duck, a diamond duck this time. Very impressive. Run out by Gale mostly.
Most run out by Gale, or run out because it says Warner on the card.
Yeah. It was Gale's decision that got Pooran run out. But yeah, the talent I'm referring to is the stuff that we're not using. It's the people on the bench. We've got Ravi Bishnoi, who's a leg spinner, and he was class last season, and he's brilliant in the domestic stuff. I think he's in India under-19 World Cup squad. He's a real prospect for the future, and we haven't used him. Ishan Perel is another one. If Mohamed Shami continues his current form over the last couple of games, then I would love to see Ishan Perel come in. I think he's quite an exciting person. And then someone that is not an uncapped Indian piece of talent, I still want to see all the same, David Malan. I want to see this man come in. I want to see some English boys in Punjab Kings now because we're not winning games, so we might as well give the English boys a bit of a run out.
So just to go over what James is talking about, he's referring to Punjab's embarrassing loss to Sunrisers, considering Sunrisers' form of late, where there was a true batting collapse. I think the top 5 scored about 50 runs between them, to put up 120 off of your overs. So, you didn't even get to the end. You were still 2 balls to go. Yeah, it really wasn't the best time for them. Moses Henrique, his first game, didn't look particularly convincing. I don't think. I think Chris Jordan would have been a far better inclusion. I think that's a word. Than Henriquez or Enriquez, however you say his name. And as you've said, Nick Pooran, he's really not been in the runs. He's really struggling. So maybe it is time for him, to make way for Daya Milan, just to see how that goes. Speaking of, your overseas talent, being worth the money you pay for them, I think that was pretty much the story of Sunrisers games. I mean, Rashid Khan was again unplayable off his 4 overs, with going for 4 overs for 17 runs with a wicket in there. And then between David Warner, Johnny Bairstow and Kane Williamson, they made that run chase look quite easy. When Johnny Bairstow's in form, when Johnny Bairstow's on it, he's a scary man to be bowling to. He can hit it everywhere, and when he's in form, he's fantastic. And again, Warner doing what he does, being that reliable start, striking at 100. So yeah, it was surprising to see Sunrise do that, considering their form of late.
I didn't really understand why they picked. Just going off what you're saying about Enriquez.
Moises Enriquez.
We'll just call him Moises.
Moses.
The thing I didn't really quite understand by it is, I understand if you want him as an all-rounder and you're going to bowl him. They only bowled him 1 over, and Shami's still got 2 in the bank. Like, if you had to choose between Shami bowling an over with his experience and his knowledge of Indian conditions over Moises on Reeks, then you'd go with Shami. And also, if you're playing him for consistency in the batting, surely you'd pick someone who averages probably twice as much as him in David Milan. So yeah, it just doesn't make sense really, especially when Poran's in such bad form. Chris Gale isn't firing. He probably will, but maybe once or twice. They need that consistent performer. They need someone like David Milan who's just going to say, right, I'm going to score you 40 or 50 runs, even if it takes me 40 or 50 balls to do it. I'm going to be there the whole way through whilst everyone else is free to just bat around me. It's a long tournament. He should get a game. I'll be amazed if he doesn't. But yeah,
I thought it was quite interesting that Punjab as well were playing Shahrukh Khan down at number 7. So they put in Deepak Huda and Moise Henriquez, who both are all-rounder / bowler types. Shahrukh Khan, who's a through-and-through batsman, and batted far better than both of them.
He's officially a batting all-rounder, actually. He bowls a little bit of handy off-spin.
Well, there you go. But being put down at 7 when Huda's having his overs bowled out and Moses, bowled that one decent over. I was just a bit confused by the whole of Punjab setup, to be honest. Like, it's not making a lot of sense. I think Punjab have got a lot of thinking to do. They need to really go back to the drawing board, and rethink their squad, what they want to look like. Which is interesting because they did seem really strong in their first couple of games, and it's almost like they've just lost that flow completely.
The one thing I will say before we move on is my fantasy pick of Johnny Bairstow. Delivered, didn't he? See,
did.
Stat Corner. Go watch the video on Stat Corner.
Yeah. So we released a video. I think it went live as of recording this morning, where Zach breaks down some predictions for replacements for the Rajasthan team. So yeah, definitely go and give that a watch. And yeah, we hope to bring you more Stats Corner in the future.
All right, let's get on to you two, because you're both sitting there smug as anything. Less of this misery. Right, Kolkata versus Chennai Super Kings in probably the match of the tournament so far.
What a match, eh?
Oh, it was amazing.
What a match. I have to admit, when Dinesh Karthik, Andre Russell and Pat Cummins slashed the bowlers around, I was getting quite nervous. But before we talk about, Kolkata's chase, let's just have a few words about that opening pair of Chennai, who finally have found some form and are looking fantastic. I mean, Faf on his day, he's been given some flack from us, from me as well, but I think that game was really key for Faf, just to remind everyone, actually, this is why I'm here. This is what I do. He has been a bit, hit and miss recently, but I think he's managed to solidify himself for the next few games. Moeen Ali, a very handy 25 off 12. We love to see it. Dhoni was trying to re-establish himself as that finisher. I mean, he was striking at over 200 runs as well.
It was the first time we've seen Dhoni be Dhoni again for quite a while. Seeing Dhoni actually hit a 6, I was quite happy for the guy.
Yeah, and then we all love to see as well that perfect end to an innings with Jadeja hitting a 6 off his first ball, swinging everything at it. So yeah, some really handy runs. I mean, really the bowling of KKR was just dismantled. I think Sunil Narayan was the best when it comes to the figures, but he was really attacked.
I have to say, Baron Chakravarti was a standout there. Went for an economy of 6.75 when everyone else was going at 14, 12, 13, 12. Yeah.
And you could tell that Andre Russell was getting quite frustrated. But no, I thought this was really, really, really good. Good signs for this Chennai team. Deepak Chahar again, another really important 4 wickets, dismantling that top order. And this time, you can't even say that he's just ripped through a tail enders. He's taken 4 of the top 5. Some really fantastic bowling, and I'm really excited by that performance from Chennai. Hopefully, Chennai can keep up that form. But that middle order of KKR, do you think either of you two there's some glimmers of hope for KKR in that?
Absolutely.
I don't think Pat Cummins is going to do it every game, but I think Andre Russell, him finding form, Dinesh Karthik finding form, is what they need, and so yeah, I think that will give them some confidence moving forward. It will provide that confidence to the top order who didn't fire, for them to think, okay, yes, if we'd fired, we might have got over the line, and in future we've got these guys below us who can bat well, we bat deep, so let's just go for it.
I really want to see Owen Morgan come into form. From a selfish English standpoint, as well as just I like him as a guy. You know, he's a nice cricketer, and yeah, I want to see Owen Morgan just do a bit better than 7 off 7. Pat Cummins was absolutely, even though Faf got 95 off whatever he did, and he definitely deserved a century. Pat Cummins, 66 off 34 not out. For a part-time batsman, really, it was amazing. So impressive from the guy. So, you know, big shout out to Pat Cummins.
I think Pat Cummins is sort of establishing himself as that sort of bowling all-rounder role anyway. I mean, he's been doing this for a few seasons, and when he does strike it and he gets in the runs, he scores big. He's sort of filling that similar role to Chris Woakes in a way, that we see for England, where you know he can handle a bat really well, and he's also one of the best bowlers in the world. So yeah, definitely some positives for KKR, and he was definitely their standout in that match, even if his bowling was a little bit frustrated by some of the Chennai batters.
I'm itching to talk about RCB.
Yeah, go on. You second smug section of the day.
They just do it so well. There's no other way to describe it. There was a period today where I was actually listening to it on the radio on my way home from work, and I think Shivam Dubey and Rian Parag were having their partnership, and then Tawati was coming and smashing it all over the place. I was thinking, it doesn't matter. Like, they're at the Wankhede Stadium. They can score 200. We're still going to chase it down, and I think that's the level of confidence I have in the team at the moment. Like, our best bowler, Harshal Patel, went at 12 and over, still managed to take 3 wickets, bowled well at the death. Siraj, where's he been the last few seasons? Like, his economy is drastically dropping. He's improving every game he's playing, and the players who haven't been in form are starting to come into form. So Virat Kohli and Devdutt Padikkal, absolutely insane. And we didn't even need Glenn Maxwell or A.B. de Villiers. They may as well have just carried the drinks.
Yeah, it was a really dominant performance. Rajasthan did incredibly well to post 177, and yeah, it was just, there was never any doubt that RCB were going to win it. The only thing I could kind of nitpick with RCB was that they shouldn't have let them score 177.
Yeah.
You know, they bowled the wrong lines for the field that was set, and they sort of bled those runs through just being a bit lazy, being a bit complacent. And on another day, if they stay lazy and complacent like that, then they might end up losing a game that they really don't deserve to lose. But yeah, I mean, it was arrogant play at its finest, with you know, Devdutt and Virat just terrifying batting.
I mean,
it was really, really amazing.
Something you do have to think about now, and that is going to become more and more apparent as we go through the rest of this competition now, is that Rajasthan have had a day less to sort of recharge than Royal Challengers did. And in fact, Punjab the other day only had 3 days turnaround in their matches, so it that will start affecting the teams. That will start when you're playing that often and you're training for 3 days and you have to do a bit of travelling there as well. Bear in mind, Punjab had to travel from Mumbai to Chennai. That type of travel can really start getting to you. So it's just something to bear in mind, because we'll see that as we go through the competition too, as we get into its late stages. Not to take anything away from RCB's performance. I agree with everything both of you have said. I mean, they made it look easy. Padikal's batting today was absolutely phenomenal. He was sort of back to that level of class that we saw last season. So yeah, RCB are just looking scary, and even if the now in-form Kohli and Padikal aren't batting properly, and miss out a little bit, you've still then got Glenn Maxwell, AB de Villiers, Washington Sundar coming in after that to really bolster the runs. So yeah, RCB I think definitely a sort of taking this competition by the scruff of the neck. I think they're really establishing themselves as a force to be reckoned with. And with Mumbai looking a little bit shaky, really the only team that's looking as strong as RCB at the minute is Delhi. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the competition goes. There's still a long way to go. But yeah,
there's still time for the fall.
There's still time for Royal Chokers Bangalore. But I am quite happy with Chennai sitting pretty there in second place too.
Yeah, I just think going
Yeah,
back,
all right, you do.
going back to RCB, even the bowling. I take Shabazz Ahmed. The other day he took 3 for 7. He wasn't even bowled this game. Yeah, it's crazy the depth that's there, and I think the teams that have the depth, like Delhi, like Royal Challengers have shown, and also Chennai, they're the teams that are doing well. Whereas the teams that are lacking depth, like Punjab Kings, Rajasthan Royals, it's showing. There's nothing to fall back on really, and so I think that's why those teams are struggling. Yeah, we're almost. We're about a quarter of the way through, aren't we? Every team's played 4 games.
Yeah. So it's getting to the do or die stage for a few of the teams. Not to mention any names, but some teams have really got their backs against the wall. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think we'll wrap it up there. You guys all right with that?
Sounds good to me. Brilliant.
So thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe and leave a like. Follow us on all social medias. We are at Cricket Nerds Pod. And yeah, we will see you again
James,
very soon.
You're missing a vital component of a vital part of this episode. We've not talked about fancy picks of the week.
The revised fancy picks. At least I need to. So, scrap Chris Wokes, all right? Delhi don't know what they're doing. Get rid of him, okay? I'm going to say revised fantasy pick of the week is going to be Mohammad Siraj. The guy's hit form and he's going to take wickets.
I'm going to go with Andre Russell. The man's coming up against Rajasthan Royals. It's going to be a high-scoring game, and he's going to do well again, I think. There we go.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, Punjab are playing tomorrow. Rajasthan versus Kolkata coming up, and then the big game. On is it Sunday? I think it is.
Yeah.
Chennai versus Bangalore, number 1 versus number 2. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, off the back of that last performance, I think Faf is a real good call this week. When he hits his stride, he's scoring runs. So I'm going to go with Mr. Faf, Francois Duplessis. Hopefully he gets you some points.
All right then. Well, I'm not going to repeat myself. Please still subscribe and everything. But goodbye.